What's going on, you guys? This is Aaron from Departures Capital, and welcome to the video. In this video, we had the pleasure of interviewing the CEO, Jorge Ramiro Monroy, from Reyna Silver on the future of the company and what they're all about. Now, Reyna Silver is an exploration stage company with multiple projects across North America. Their flagship project, of course, in Mexico, some very prolific mining jurisdictions in Mexico. As we know, Mexico is the world's #1 place for silver. I'm really interested in Reyna Silver because Reyna Silver is one of the only, companies that offers good exposure, in my opinion, to the silver exploration stage sector, which I personally myself find it hard to find. So hope you guys enjoyed this interview. They're at a really interesting time in their business. Let me know what you think. And last but not least, if you do support me on the channel and all the videos, then of course, kindly explode that like button. Helps my videos so very much, along with dropping a comment below. And if you do appreciate videos just like this and you want more, you want to follow along, then of course don't forget to cash that subscribe button and ring the market bell for notifications. And let's get straight into this awesome interview. What's going on, guys? This is Aaron with Departures Capital. We're here with Jorge Ramiro Monroy, Chief Executive Officer at Reyna Silver, joining us from Hong Kong. How are you doing today, Jorge?
I'm doing very well, Aaron. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I practiced it a couple of times before starting, but it's very nice to see you, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to introduce our company in your program.
Yes, it's awesome. I'm excited to have you on the channel. So, first let's start talking about Reyna Silver. We have had some of our viewers ask, oh, what about Reyna Silver? So, it's awesome that we have you, the CEO, here on. So let's talk about the company, what it's all about.
Absolutely. So Reyna Silver is a company that I started. I'm originally from Mexico myself, and have always been involved in the mining industry for a big part of my career, and have always had a particular interest in silver. It's a commodity that is very unique in the sense that it's a precious metal, but it's also an industrial metal. And then, for all of us in Mexico, it also has a very special place in our history and in our economy and in our society. And it's a metal that, for whatever reason, it's not a rare metal in any way whatsoever, but it just so happened that in Mexico, geologically, it appears in very high grades. Yeah. More so apparently than most other places. So if you look at most companies that are producing silver, the majority of these companies will have their assets in Mexico. So with that, I started looking at about four years ago. I started studying silver and realizing that when you looked at all the producers in Canada that produce primary silver, the majority of these Canadian companies actually, while they're listed in Canada, their assets are really mostly in Mexico.
Exactly.
And I started realizing, a lot of them have, over the last 8 years, been producing at either break even or just maybe some years the price was good enough that they made a little bit of profit. But it's been a really difficult time. So as a result of that, there has been very little money invested in exploration, and very little, frankly speaking, the companies that are in production are producing low grade. Without a lot of money to explore, even around their own mine, let alone exploring regionally. So with that, we had a relationship with a company called MAG Silver, which has an incredible history of discoveries. If any of your listeners are not familiar, it's a company that whose co-founder and chief exploration officer is Peter Magaw, who's a legend in the silver exploration world, and he made an incredible discovery in Mexico in 2003 in an asset called Juanicipio, which is just announcing commercial the first production last week. Anyway, at the time, this is 3 years ago, they had a couple of assets in their portfolio that they really didn't have enough capital scope human resources even to, to explore. And so I approached them and I said, look, would you be interested in me taking these assets, putting them in a private company, then I'll raise enough money to take the company public, and then explore these assets as a standalone and, as their own company. So they liked the idea. And then as part of that deal, Peter McGaw, who's as I mentioned, the co-founder and the main technical advisor, the chief exploration officer of Max Silver, is now with us in the capacity of chief technical advisor. So we put together a great team, and then we're exploring 2 assets in Mexico that came from Max Silver. And the philosophy of the company is high-grade silver with district scale potential. On the back of our listing that happened very recently in June 2020, we've made a couple of other acquisitions as well, which I'll be happy to talk to you more about it. But that's basically a little intro on the company, how we got started, and what we're about.
Perfect. And I find it myself hard to find good exposure to silver exploration, with proven management. That's what I've always found it hard to. You can find many different large cap producers, but a company your size, it's hard to find a company your size.
It's very few. It's amazing. I had the same problem as an investor as well. And what's really interesting is even when you're looking at assets, the reality is there aren't that, like, let's say not assets that are within a company. Like, let's say you want to start a company and you go and look for assets. I mean, the reality is there aren't that many. In Mexico, it's a very interesting history, and I think it'd be interesting for me to share with you so that people understand just how rare silver, like pure silver or silver dominant deposits with high grade are. Mexico has been mined by the Spaniards for 500 years, between the 1500s, when with Columbus coming to the Americas around that time, all the way until essentially the 1800s, and they actually mine silver quite intensely. So throughout all of Mexico, almost everywhere you go, you find these all workings of silver. However, these Spanish miners at the time couldn't get very deep. So what you have is like just a ton of old workings from the Spanish, but that did not have the proper technology, and that the mines just didn't go very deep. And then Canadians didn't really come to explore in Mexico until after NAFTA got signed in the mid-90s. So exploration in Mexico, in a modern day, the way we Canadian public companies do it now, it's relatively new to Mexico. So as a result, there aren't that many advanced projects. So when I was looking at putting the company together, I had 2 choices. One was to go for a project that was like maybe left over from the last cycle, where the grade maybe low, and it just didn't work at current prices. And then then you have to see can I make the grade higher, but then you're always sort of going against the current. And then the second option was to go, as you were saying, with a proven management that has a track record of discoveries. So speaking to Peter McGaw, he said to me, look, what I recommend to you is, why don't we start a company? I've been studying Mexico for years. Why don't we go and look for deposits that already have a little bit of drilling? They have exploration, they have historic production from the Spanish times. And then let's go and prove a high grade district scale silver resource. So I think you're totally right. Like these, the universe of companies in the silver exploration is quite rare. And in a kind of market like we are now with silver rising, even the shares of the companies themselves become a little bit of a commodity, just because there's not that many of them, and a lot of capital do flow into them. And if silver gets going much higher I know some of your guests have very high price estimations. I was listening to some of your previous broadcasts. I mean, if that scenario happens, companies like ours are going to be orders of magnitude higher than than where we're now.
I fully agree, and we're hoping on the next leg up for silver. So we'll see what happens after everything's settled, as we know right now. But so let's talk about your projects. You have projects across Canada, the USA, Mexico, of course, too. Let's talk about your most significant assets.
Yeah. So our flagship asset is an asset called Gigi, and it's in very close to the capital of the state of Chihuahua, which is called Chihuahua City. It's a historic district. It's been in continuous production since the 1700s, and it's actually one of the highest grade silver districts that's ever been in production in Mexico. It has produced a staggering 500 million ounces of silver, where the average grade of the silver is 310 grams per ton of silver with 15% lead zinc combined. Just to give your listeners who might not be familiar with grade, silver grades, I mean, this is a good 3-4 times, including the zinc credits. It's a good 3-4 times higher than the average production grades, at this time. So it's a very prominent district. And what we have is we control an area that's almost 6,000 hectares wide, and we're surrounding 2 mines that until very recently have been in production, where the bulk of that 500 million ounces have come in. And Mag Silver, before they gave the project to us, they had drilled the property and done a number of geological work, including geophysics, that proved quite convincingly that the mine goes into our property. It's a type of silver deposit called CRD, which stands for carbonate replacement deposit. And what's unique about the district we're in is all the production that I described to you, that 500 million ounces of high grade silver, they lay within the upper part of the system. And the geological model of a number of these type of deposits around Mexico and other parts of North America have a deeper part called the skarn that actually has never been found. And we believe that that skarn lays within our system. So what we've been doing is chasing the veins from the producing mine into the source of the skarn. And if we find it, you'd be looking at a project that's orders of magnitude of what's been in production so far. Just to give you an example, other CRD systems in Mexico and other parts of North America, if the upper part tends to contain the smaller portion of the production. So that 500 million ounces of silver that has been discovered is only in the upper part. Wow. So the deeper part could have substantially higher tonnage, and we expect to also be high grade. So that's our main project. If anybody is interested in buying our stock or following the company, I think what you want to watch for in terms of news is we're just waiting for permitting for the drill holes. We're in the sort of past the deadline where you normally receive it, so we expect that we'll be receiving it imminently. Mm-hmm. And we'll be putting a press release to that effect, and then we'll be drilling, through the rest of the fall and into early next year. And that's really the main asset we have in the company. However, we do have 3 other assets which we are actively exploring, and that, if it's okay with you, I would like to take a minute to tell you about.
Sure, yeah, we'd love to hear it.
So we have another project that also came from Mag Silver called Batopilas. And this is a fascinating project. The history of this project is it was at one point Mexico's highest grade mine that was ever in production. It produced 350 million ounces of silver, where the average grade of the silver was 1.5 kilos per ton.
Wow.
That was on average. And again, to give you listeners a sense of what that is, you know, the average mine in Mexico right now is maybe producing 100 grams per ton. So this is 15 times a higher grade than anything you have in production now. And it was not a small amount of production, 350 million ounces of silver. It's there aren't too many projects in Mexico currently that have that level of ounces. Now, what's really interesting about this property is it was shut down in 1913, not because it was depleted, but because of the Mexican Revolution. And you know, you probably never heard about this guy, but there's a famous guy in Mexican history and in sometimes also in the old Western movies, you might have seen it. His name is Pancho Villa. And, you know, he's a big revolution. Yeah, okay. So yeah, he actually himself came to the town where the mine was, shut down the mine. And then the mine actually sat idle for a long time. As a matter of fact, there's I have it here. It's a great book written about the mine called the Silver Magnet, and it's you know, it's unfortunately not available for sale on Amazon. But if any of your listeners wants a copy, you know, please just send me an email and I'll send you a copy. You can just write to me at info@reynasilver.com, and that forwards to my email.
Great.
So send me your address, and we do have a few copies that we can send you. But it's basically a history of how the Batopilas mine was established, you know, what it took to put it in production, and the, you know, the impact that it had everywhere around it. It was a listed company in the New York Stock Exchange. And I would say, as I was mentioning to you, it was left there from the 1913. And then in the mid-90s, there was something significant, which was the signing of NAFTA. Mm-hmm. And with the signing of NAFTA, the trade agreement with the US and Canada, Canadian companies could come back to Mexico and own 100% of projects, which before that was not possible. So that immediately Peter McGaw staked the old mine, which contained the bulk of the historic production. But he also staked an area that was about 2,000 hectares that contains a number of historic veins that were never, they had very small artisanal production, but they're largely untouched. And, you know, 30 known veins in the whole district. So what we're doing now is looking for more targets in where we believe is there's still a number of pockets of high grade ore left in the old mine. And then just doing regional exploration. As I mentioned, there's 30 known veins in the district. About half of those are outside of where the historic production took place. So it's a very exciting project. We have a team of 4 geologists at site at the moment. And, you know, our idea is to generate drill targets and start drilling this project in early next year. Then we have 2 exciting projects that we just acquired in the last month. Mm-hmm. The first one is called La Reyna. It's an asset that's very close to our flagship asset, Gigi. And, you know, it's the same story. It was in production by the Spanish. It shut down because of the Mexican Revolution in 1910. And then it's basically been sitting there since 1910. It's a very similar situation where you have about 4.5 kilometers of an epithermal vein that came at surface. The Spanish could only mine it up to 50, 100 meters in depth. High-grade historic production records that are, you know, widely available, but they couldn't go any deeper because they hit the water table or just they didn't have the technology. And we do believe that those ore bodies go substantially deeper. In which case, you know, we may have a good size project there. In addition, the district is a very prolific district, and we'll be looking to expand our presence there. And again, we're exploring this asset. It just came to us 2 weeks ago, but we already have a team there generating samples and drill targets to start drilling at Q1 of 2021. And then finally, another exciting project, which is it's in Nevada. and it's called Medicine Springs. And it's a project that we took on an option basis, and that has a very unique, it basically very similar geologically to our flagship asset Gigi. And Dr. Peter McGaw is a world-renowned authority in this kind of silver projects. It's a project that was drilled for gold. It's in the Carlin district in Nevada, and the people who had it before us had thought this could be a gold deposit. However, when they drilled it, it's very apparent that they've, it's a silver zinc project. However, they only drill it to about 150 meters max. Within that, there's a number of high-grade drill intersects that are just basically very shallow. What we're going to do initially is drill deeper to see how far the system goes. And then, similar to the work we're doing at Gigi, look for the scar. So we have 4 exciting projects. Each project would be strong enough to be its own company. And we were lucky to be able to raise enough money. We have $12 million of cash, and we have enough money to. Our main focus, as I mentioned, is Gigi, which is, I think, the more advanced project we have. But we do have the intention of drilling all 4 of our projects within the next 12 months. So I think for anybody who's interested, who number one likes silver and wants to have exposure, number 2 in the equity side, I think we're a great option. We have 4 excellent projects. We're well capitalized. We have a great team on the ground. We have a great board. We have Peter Jones as our chairman. He is the former CEO of Hudbay, and he's brings great knowledge and has been really focused on having corporate governance at the board level.
That's exciting. The next 12 months should be something else for you guys. I look forward to covering it. And I know this is just our first interview, but hopefully we can have you back on for many more.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, let's talk a little bit about silver now.
Yes.
Of course, I'm a silver and gold bull. I'm sure you are. Yeah. You like silver as well. But what are the 3 things that come to mind, most important factors for investors to focus on, good or bad, for silver over the next, 12 months or so?
Well, you know what? Because I know I listen to your channel, and I know that a lot of your guests speak about the macro side of silver. I think most of your listeners probably have a pretty good understanding of that. Maybe I'll give you a couple of perspectives that might be somewhat unique, just based on conversations that I've been having. Over the last few weeks, I've been in contact with a lot of investors who are in the space, and then a lot of industry players as well. And I had like 3 or 4 conversations that I thought were quite significant, and they've really made me think a lot about where we are in terms of silver and where we're going. One of them was I had about a month ago now, I had a conversation with a gentleman in India. And I don't know if you know this, but India is the largest importer of gold, together with China. Mm-hmm. They import every year the equivalent of the entire gold production of Canada into India, and they have their own refineries, and they turn it into jewelry, etc. Now in 2019, India, and I didn't know this, but in 2019, India imported more because when gold prices go up, then a lot of people start buying silver because it's a cheaper alternative. Yeah. So in 2019, India imported the equivalent of world production of silver in India. And then he was calling me saying, he had learned about Reyna Silver and said, look, we can't get our hands on enough silver. We're having to pay premiums for the doré. The doré, for those of you who don't know, is basically what comes out of the mine, you produce a bar that's not is not fully bullion. You have to take it to a refinery, and then they bring it to that 99.99 I think four nights. So the guy was telling me, look, it's become very difficult. Can you help us get any silver? And so then you start doing the math. So so we know silver 70% is consumed for industrial purposes of world production. It's not like gold where it's stored. Like every production that comes out of silver, it gets consumed every year. Then you have India in 2019 importing the equivalent to world production in 1 year, and it seems like 2020 they're it's gonna be the same. Now, over the last little bit, I had another meeting with a Chinese group that's in the same situation, looking to bring silver, and it seems like China is bought an unprecedented amount of silver in the last few months. And then now then you look at industrial usage, and almost like solar panels usage, it's increasing, and for antiseptic it's increasing. Now for coins and bullion, it's increasing. I think everybody knows nobody can get their hands on a coin for less than $40-50 an ounce.
Exactly.
So we all know everything about how silver is manipulated, and it is a lot of it in the sort of conspiracy theory department, and a lot of it is well substantiated. But let's take that aside for a minute, and you look at what happened, for instance, with platinum a couple of years ago, where there was a fear of a supply crunch. I had another interesting breakfast in Mexico City about maybe 6-7 months ago. No, actually more, because it was before COVID started, and you could still have breakfast with people. So it was probably in February of this year, and he was with the CEO of a very well-known. Well, I guess I could tell you who. It's basically a company that procures the raw material for Samsung. And he was telling me, the Samsung has been now doing deals directly with the mines in Mexico. You can see this. I think it's a company called Avino Silver that trades in the TSX.
Mm-hmm.
And Samsung has directly done an offtake agreement on the silver. And he was telling me, look, what keeps me awake at night is that, one day I wake up and, because silver is important for cell phones, laptops, and we don't want to be in a situation where all of a sudden, we can't get the silver. And, in terms of people who are using it for industrial purposes, I think they're very aware of it. People in the solar panel industry give you similar anecdotes. So just to say, I think that's important to look at. It's an important data set. And then if you put it in combination with everything that's on the macro side, put in, look at the amount of money that's been printed, the amount of debt that we've ranked, not just the US, but every single country in the world. At some point, something's got to give. And, I think silver, even at these prices having gone up a fair bit this year, it's increasingly looking undervalued. And, and I think to have physical silver along with shares of some of the producers, and then having companies like ours, it's a great combination.
Definitely. Just my personal opinion on silver, I think it'd be crazy if we didn't hit fresh all-time highs for silver, just because a lot of stuff's happened in the past, but we've never seen this much stimulus. And I think that, we're definitely headed to fresh all-time highs, but that's just my opinion. We won't, that's not financial advice. Of course, we always have to say that, but
and from our perspective too, like we're the way we're, when you're on the company side, you really want to, it's actually a very interesting discussion to have internally with our management and our board, because, you always want to operate thinking that the price is going to be lower than it's now.
Of course.
So and that was really the key for us in selecting our projects, was having projects that will be profitable, even if silver is, at prices that we had earlier this year or last year. So you always want to sort of work on that assumption. And then on the other hand, we also wanted to have, the reason we have a portfolio of projects is, thinking of what does happen if silver goes past $30, $40. Our company will of course be a lot more valuable, and then the interest for silver will be a lot higher. And also the fundamentals of the projects that we have, it changes completely. If you have a project that makes money at $15 silver, at $30, that extra $15 is just pure margin. So it's a very exciting time, but in terms of operating the company, definitely, we are very cautious. But then in terms of the outlook for silver, so many factors piling in favor of silver on the macro side, on the supply demand. So it's an interesting time.
Definitely, and I think that's, like you said, that's the beauty of high grade. You can operate in an environment where if silver doesn't go the way we want it to, it's still good for you guys. So, what are you most excited about for Reyna Silver, I guess, over the next 6 to 12 months? I know it's probably going to be a lot of drill results, but what's the one thing that,
it's all about drill results. It's all about, it's actually quite exciting, I get reports every day from our teams on the field. They send us a report with what they're finding. And, it's exciting. It's exciting because these are projects that have sort of been sitting in the shelf for the better part of a decade, and actually in many cases for more the better part of a century. So it's exciting to bring them back to life, and then it'll be, I think, everything in the company going forward. We did a good job raising enough funds, structuring the company in such a way that we can support our technical team to now deliver the results.
Wonderful. So, last but not least, where can investors find more information about Reyna Silver? So,
the best place is to go to our website. Our website is reynasilver.com, and that's Reyna is R-E-Y. And then you can within the website, we have a media section that has a number of videos where Peter McGaw himself is explaining the assets in detail. I think that's a great place to start. Each of our assets have their own web page. Within the website, their own section that has all the technical information, a presentation, a video, some pictures from the site, and then there's a number of independent reports that you can look online with people who have commented on their perspective on our company.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jorge. I know it's just our first interview, but like I said, you guys are entering a news phase and all the drill results coming out. So I look forward to having you back on. And thank you.
Thank you. It was great talking to you. And stay warm. And you were telling me you had your first snow today.
Yes, unfortunately. So yeah. We'll be bringing our viewers from.
We're at 22 Celsius and sunny here, so but it'll get cold here soon as well.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much.
All right, guys, that wraps up the video. Thank you so much for watching, and always remember, Departures Capital is for information, education, and entertainment purposes only. Don't buy or sell a stock because you heard it on here. Buy or sell a stock because you've done your research, you've done your thorough due diligence, and you're making your own personal investment decisions for yourself. This video is not financial advice. And of course, this video was sponsored by Reyna Silver, with all of the details in the description below for full disclosure. So thank you once again, and have a great day, guys.